Hey, good afternoon. It's Charlie Bengal Jr., the CEO of Remax Allegiance. Welcome to the Allegiance Way show, the Daily Dose. My co-host today is Amy Lassen, an
Hello.
associate broker with Remax Properties in Colorado Springs. Good to see you, Amy.
Good to see you, Charlie.
We are live on live stream. If anybody is watching and has comments, feel free to share. And with that, we are discussing today. I'm looking at our number of viewers, and I'm wondering if we're in the right place. Again, so there we go. So we want to talk about video today, lessons learned in video. Why don't you start by kind of sharing your experiences with video, how you got into video, how you use video, and we can kind of take it from there.
Well, I want to let everyone watching know, and this is maybe for the chicken livers out there, not necessarily the people who are already crushing it. And for those who are crushing it, we have some tips for you too. But if you have struggled with it or still kind of toe in the water and afraid to get started, I have been the same. I was you, and there have been just a few staggering steps that got me to where I am with video. And so Charlie and I were talking about our own shared journey with video and live video, and thought we could share just our own hesitance and how we have overcome it. So that's my vision for what we're going to share today. I think a lot of what my video experience has been shared. Interview style works really well for me. And it was a leap of faith a couple of weeks ago to transition from teaching longer format online classes to doing the daily dose in 30-minute sprints. And that's just been a huge challenge and accomplishment for me to be able to master that format. So I'm seeing changes in the way I do video all the time. What about you, Charlie?
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. And I think one of the big differences for you has also been when you were teaching the 2-hour classes, there were people that were there.
Right.
They were interacting. You could ideally see them. They could ask questions.
Yeah.
And it is quite a bit different to just, do the webinar type stuff. You and I talking, it's easy, right? But if you're teaching a 30-minute class, and it's just going out to everyone, right? And you maybe get a few comments or some feedback, in the comment box.
Yeah.
Now that we're using StreamYard, but before then, there was really there was no feedback whatsoever, right? You'd hear about it later, but it is definitely that for me was harder. And I don't remember what class I was teaching, that 30-minute class. Maybe getting ready for a strong fourth quarter or something like that. And it was just me and the live camera. And it was like, I hope the people enjoy it.
Yeah.
So so that's definitely different. And I think everybody's nervous the first time they go live, whether you're live on Facebook or you're live on Zoom, to Facebook or StreamYard, whatever tool you're using.
Yeah.
Because we're just not used to being on camera. And when we take or make videos with our kids or family or whatever, if we don't like them, we don't have to share them. If it's like, I don't like the way I look there or sounded there, I don't have to share it. I can just delete it. Where live, it's, it's done. And I always joke with clients that if we all loved the way we sounded or looked on camera, we would work for CNN or something like that. And it's been interesting during the pandemic to watch, when I'm between appointments, I'll have CNBC on and I'll have it down really, really low. And then if they're talking about something that's interesting, like PPP or something like that, I'll turn it up. And, you've become a visitor in the lives of these anchors in their houses.
Yeah.
Because if you have 5 people on a CNBC show right now, only one is in the studio. The rest are like, Tyler, who runs I think he's on at 2:00. This guy's got like the most gorgeous kitchen. The fireplace is going. I'm like, I want Tyler's kitchen, right? Yeah. And it's so interesting. Somebody made the comment of no CNBC. I'm not saying CNN. CNBC. It's not political. Nice try. So anyway, I think it's just been interesting to see how this has developed over the last month, and the fact that even the CNBCs, the Foxes, the CNNs, the whatever, as you're broadcasting from all these different places, there's glitches. They'll be interviewing somebody and the internet connection will blip, right? They'll freeze for a second. It's just so different, and that's live TV for you, right? So you and I have made mistakes. When I was interviewing somebody, Chris Kraus on Wednesday, I was broadcasting to the wrong group and wondering why nobody was watching. And then it was like, oh, I get it, because I'm broadcasting to the wrong group, right? And I was able to figure it out and fix it. But again, that's live TV. So I think that's expected. So, giving yourself grace when it comes to these live videos, I think is important, because people don't expect perfection when you're live.
Well, and what we're going to cover today is not simply live, but I love it that you're starting here. And I covered this yesterday when I talked about StreamYard. I tried to promote the concept of live in particular.
Yes.
Talk about video in general, but live in particular. Charlie, you and I were talking about this earlier this morning, that one of the beauties of live is you just don't get to overthink it.
Yep.
You just go.
Yep.
Yesterday, I had the exact same problem. I was broadcasting into the wrong place, and it took a second to figure it out. And the solution was not what I expected, and it was still resolved probably within 30 seconds. I was able to just initiate a completely different broadcast and jump back on. As long as you have your notes, as long as you're passionate about your topic, I think you can be compelling in video. Yeah,
absolutely. And when I get annoyed, stressed, etc., I turn into a driver, right? But when I'm normal, I'm more of an analytical. And you could spend all day trying to perfect a video, and it's like, what's the saying? Perfection is the enemy of done. There were a couple staff members that were emailing me about something earlier this week, and that was my reply to them. There was all this back and forth about a photo or something, and I literally wrote, "Perfection is the enemy of done. Period. Send." In other words, let's just get this done. Right? Let's just get this done. So those of you that have been thinking about video, live video is your friend, because you will have your first video done.
Mm-hmm.
You could do it. We're going to be done here at 2 p.m. Eastern. You could have your first live video done at 2:05.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You take the stats that I sent out last night for the DC metro area about what's come on in the last week, number of new listings, number of under contracts, number of solds. Right? You talk about that. Maybe you grab some interest rates. You talk about how you've been, quarantined yourself or abiding by the stay-at-home order, and you wanted to give friends, family, sphere, past clients a quick update to show that the market is still moving. Maybe you have a couple words about how you've pivoted your business on, off, done, probably in under a minute.
Mm-hmm.
One suggestion would be, and I don't know that we have I guess we have some tips,
mm-hmm.
but to slow down. When we get nervous, we tend to speak quicker. I don't have this problem on video as much as I have the problem when I'm speaking in front of a group, like in front of me.
Yeah.
But if that is something that you feel like you have a problem with, just put a little sticky note on your computer, slow down. Slow down. And if you're consciously thinking about slowing down, you will.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about going 30 minutes live as your first video. That is not what Amy and I are suggesting. So if you can't handle the live and you want to do the recorded version, that's cool too.
Well, and we're going to go deep into some really valuable content like you just suggested for what they could be putting out there. But let's take a step further back with your first video period. Because I know, of the however many hundreds of people will watch this in the replay, the vast majority will not have done video yet and will still be too intimidated. And so I want to make a couple of super simple suggestions. Record yourself doing absolutely anything and watch it on your phone. Just say something into your phone and then watch it back, right? Get over it. I have shared this before in previous editions of the Daily Dose that I'm sending video texts more and more and more, and people really, really appreciate it. They can hear my tone. They can see my smile. It works better for them than me texting words. Start practicing video texts. Get comfortable seeing yourself in video. If you don't like your double chin, learn to hold the phone up higher, you know? Learn to stand facing the window. Play with a few things and just start to get comfortable. And I learned this from a trainer years ago that when you do scripts practice, record yourself and watch it back. You're your own best role play partner. So simple things can get you comfortable just being on video before you take on some of this other stuff. But Charlie, I appreciate what you said about just go live, just do it.
Just
right?
do it.
That's good too.
Just do it. I think my first experience in video was probably the Coaches Show.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure I was, nervous for the first few.
Yeah.
But now we've done so many, and I've told people that, people have asked, how have you pivoted? We already had the Coaches Show. We already knew how to do this. You and I were already super familiar with Zoom because we use it 15, 20 hours a week each. Yep. Right. So Zoom was second nature and has been for years.
Yes.
So live one-on-one, easy peasy. Yeah. Coaches Show, I was a little intimidated, but you and I were good. And
we weren't sure about our content, right?
Right.
We weren't sure about how we would bounce back and forth.
Right. Yeah. We had never done it before.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I had done the radio show, and I promised you I'd have your back. And so to some degree, we prepped, and to some degree, we winged it.
Right. Yeah. So, we spent 10 minutes today talking about today's topic, right? And then we're going to wing the rest, and we're going to hope for the best, right? Yeah. But, I think that the more you do it, the easier that it gets. The first listing appointment you went on, your knees under the table were like this, right?
Yeah.
And now for many people watching, it's just completely second nature. So it really is the more that you do it. I used to, tell people that the mayor of DC, her public speaking was atrocious at the beginning. Well, you know what? She's in her second term now. She's in year 6. She does it every day. She's a pro. Why? Mm-hmm. Because she does it every day, right? Yeah. It's forced practice in some of those cases. And for you and me, when we decided, hey, we're going to up this daily dose thing, and one of us or both of us are going to be on here every day at 1:30.
Yep.
I know I'm still getting better. Yes. It's forced practice, right? Doing more interviews with people, being with people that are not you, right? Interviewing people. It's forced practice. So that's not such a bad thing.
No, and so I really want everybody to hear what you said about practice. I think some of us got into real estate with not much of an idea of how big the learning curve was going to be about everything about the business. Somehow it seemed like you bought a house once and your realtor made it look easy. And I think a lot of agents, no matter what component of the business, didn't realize how much effort it would take to grow the skill, to grow the muscle. And I've encountered people who say, I did a video once, it was terrible.
Yeah.
It's like saying, I tried playing the cello once, it sounded awful.
Right.
The people who play the cello well were not born with talent. And this is a big misconception. Oh, they're naturally talented. They're naturally charismatic. They speak well, I don't. How do you know? Have you practiced 10,000 hours? And that's a little bit of an intimidating number from the book Outliers. But practice. Charlie, I was sharing with you a coaching client of mine a couple of years ago who sent me his first video, and it was so god awful. I struggled to give him positive feedback. I was kind of just caught off guard. He looked terrified, and it wasn't even live. He just recorded it into his laptop, and it was something like, I have buyer and seller resources for you. But he was so stony faced,
right,
scary to watch.
But now
he gave up. He just kept cranking, and video is a huge part of what he does. And so thank heavens I didn't pour cold water on him and tell him he stunk. And he didn't say that to himself either.
Right.
And he just kept trying. So all of this is possible for all of you. I promise. Practice will take you everywhere.
Well, yeah, Tom Brady, everybody knows the story. He was not the best.
Yeah.
And now most people would agree he's the greatest quarterback of all time. He was not the best. I was talking to a coaching client about his book earlier today, and the fact that he writes about that. This is a well-known fact. He was not the best. It is through practice. And those that may be naturally talented, they may not have to practice as much, but they still have to practice.
Yeah.
Right? They still have to discover and hone the talent.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us are saying, practice 10,000 hours before you start your first video. Record yourself, like you said, right? And I think, an easy way to start is that market update, like I described a minute ago. Yeah. I offered on the mastermind group earlier today to either go live or do a recorded video with anybody that wants it, right? So if you want to interview me, if you want me to interview you, I'm game. Let's do it. It does not need to be a half hour like our shows here, right? That's not needed. If you just want somebody to ask you about the market, so you're answering those questions, let's do that.
Yeah.
So other let's talk about, we've discussed why going live
Yeah.
is an advantage in a way, right? So
Yeah.
you get more viewers,
Yep.
and if you do it via Zoom, and we understand that Zoom to Facebook is now working again. There was about 10 days where it just wasn't, and we weren't the only victims, of that. So that's now working, or using StreamYard. You discussed StreamYard at length, I believe, yesterday, and
watch the tutorial from
so
yesterday.
check that out from yesterday. But we talked about having, the paid version is important. So right now we're broadcasting to a Facebook group and to YouTube. And the beauty of that is once we're done, the video is on YouTube. We don't have to grab the video and put it on YouTube. We don't have to edit it. It's done, right? So that is an advantage of using StreamYard, and we're paying, it's $25 a month, monthly, right? It's $20 a month if you pay in advance. So just give it a shot. If you don't like it, you don't have to pay more than $25.
Well, and as long as we're getting in the nitty gritty about cost, both Zoom and StreamYard have free versions, but the functionality that we're talking about costs. Right. And if you have Zoom and you're paying that $14.99 a month, you have to add Webinar, which is an additional $40 just to be able to stream. So StreamYard is a different product. I wouldn't teach a class with 50 people interacting on StreamYard. That's it's for. Right. But oh my goodness, StreamYard has made our lives easier, and the simulcast is brilliant.
Yep, and the little graphics that you see here, you're easy. It looks professional, right? The logos, the this, the that. The fact that you only have to. There's one button that says go live. There's one button that says end broadcast. There's not all these windows. You can see the comments. I mean, I can see people's comments. Kim and I were joking around about whether we were watching news or political news or whatever. So before, if you're using Zoom, it's really challenging to be able to juggle all of that, even with two people. So you can also, we've discussed going Facebook Live. You can also do Instagram Live, and you can do an interview with one other person if they're also on Instagram. Somebody was talking about that the other day. I thought that was pretty interesting. If you're really big into Instagram and you have a lot of followers on Instagram, and your co-host does as well, it can be kind of an interesting thing. I think there were a couple agents that did a bi-coastal market update. One was in New York, one was in LA, and one of these guys is on $1 Million Listing. These are people that have tons of Instagram followers, so they had a really big audience, right? It was good for both of their brands. So lessons learned. We've talked about the importance of practicing. We've talked a little bit about interviewing and how it's easier to be talking to, another person. We always do a pre-interview, right? You and I always, even though we've done, I don't know how many shows you and I have done together. It's been quite a few, but we always prepare. We've never gotten on having no idea what we're going to talk about. So do we spend an hour preparing? We don't. But anybody that I interview, and I'm sure you're the same, they know the questions in advance. I think a great idea is to ask them, hey, what questions do you want me to ask you? Send me 5. Especially now, a lot of the people that you all want to be interviewing, your lender, your title rep, people like this, they've done some of these interviews, or they're getting the same questions by phone or by text all the time, right? And they would be comfortable just answering those questions. So you don't need to do all the work yourself. Ask them what they want you to ask them. So and at least 5 of those, then come up with the rest. And some people that I interview, the practice is at 1:00. We're on here at 1:00 from 1 to 1:30, and then we go live. Others, it's the day before, a couple days before, whatever makes you feel comfortable. But I think preparation is important, and you'll be a lot less frazzled if you're prepared, if you know what questions you're going to ask, if you know that the other party that you're interviewing knows how this works, that they have good sound, the internet's good, that they have a good picture. Because you know what, if I were to flip around and have the window behind me, it would wash me out, right? We know these things, but not everybody else knows these things. And I have a problem because I have like this eyebrow window, and the top part of the eyebrow is not covered. So between like 9:30 and 11, the sun, I'm like chasing the sun, and I'm like trying to get out of the sun. And then it rises enough to where it's over the house and it's not a big deal. So practicing on camera is important with the person that you're looking to interview. It's not something that you just want to prepare the questions and be like, do that over the phone and then see you on Zoom or live stream or whatever, you do want to practice. And if you do that, I think it's almost like, doing a recital. And if you've practiced enough and you're good, you're nervous, but you're not as nervous as if you weren't prepared.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we've talked in coaching so much about what underprepared is overwhelmed, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You get overwhelmed when you're underprepared or not prepared. So you will feel less nervous, but the first time you do it, you will feel nervous. And I think that that's fine. It's like the Barbara Streisand, doesn't she still have terrible stage fright after how many decades on stage, right? It's a natural thing.
Well, I recommend the first time you go live that you don't maybe overcommit to the amount of content, right?
Yeah, right.
My first time going live, I was even thinking to show a screenshot, was I was out on a walk in my neighborhood and I wanted to comment on how friendly everybody was. And that even sounds cheesy to me when I say it. And I was hesitant to say it, but I was so excited in the moment that I went ahead and did it. Whoosh, did that one blow up. It was completely authentic. I didn't have to plan. I didn't change my attire. I just did it, and people really appreciated it. For the daily dose things that I do without you, Charlie, when I just go on here and I have 30 minutes worth of content to deliver, I am extremely well prepared.
Yeah.
When we first started doing it, and I think when the world started shutting down and doing social distancing, we had sometimes less than 24 hours
to
put together a topic and deliver something really concrete. So when I taught virtual open houses, I absolutely had my notes, and I was making it clear, hang on a second, let me check my notes. And I was very transparent about what I was doing. And I said, I was up very late preparing this. Hang on just a second. And I watched it back, and it was not unattractive. It wasn't.
Agreed. Right. Yeah.
So you can be your authentic self, but just bring value.
Yeah, I agree. So talk to me about what videos can we be doing, right? And I think you touched on this a little bit yesterday, but we have 10 different suggestions here.
Yeah.
We talked about, a market update.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about doing interviews, and you can do interviews with a lender, with a title rep,
mm-hmm.
with a home inspector. We're going to be interviewing a home inspector live here, not next week, but the week after, I believe,
mm-hmm.
Because, people are curious, what's happening, right,
mm-hmm.
with home inspections right now. Every home inspector is doing things a little bit differently.
Yep.
Interview your videographer or photographer. I may have mentioned title rep, and I know I mentioned local business. So those are interviews that you can be doing. And these people are happy to help you, right? These are people that are already invested in your success. The more successful you are, the more successful they are, right? So they may be a little nervous. You may need to reassure them, right? Sure. But those are all good videos. Others that we've maybe touch on, virtual open houses, right? So you did a class on that. When was that? Early last week? The week before?
I can't believe how many episodes we've done. It's easy to track down, though. You can just go to theallegianceway.com and search for it.
So, instructions there. Amy walks you right through how to do a virtual open house,
mm-hmm.
A virtual home buying seminar. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So absolutely. And we have not done a show on this one yet. So the virtual home buying seminar is something that you really need to promote to get a lot of engagement, right? So your preparation will be a large part of it. But when you go live, that's the part that's not overly complicated. Something like StreamYard is probably ideal because you can be broadcasting in multiple locations and engaging with the live comments. You bring up your slides, you share your screen, maybe you're using PowerPoint or Google. Is it slides? What do they call it in Google?
Yes.
Anyway,
yep.
So bring up your slides and be completely prepared to walk them through what does it mean to buy in this time of social distancing, and just walk them through and interact as people have comments. And you can have an incredible turnout. You and I both know agents who have done these with crazy, crazy big outcomes, hundreds of people participating.
Right.
I think, those of you who's ever, I wish we could see a show of hands, tried to do a home buying seminar, period, in person. People who prep forever, they do a lot of promoting, they share the burden with their lender, and 5 people come,
Yep.
And that's in person. So if you could get quite a number of people engaging with you online, powerful thing to do live.
Agreed. And maybe there's room for a class on that.
Yes,
you could also do,
mm-hmm.
you could also do, a home seller seminar, right? Had
Mhm.
thoughts of selling, this year. These people are sitting at home with maybe not a lot to do. There may be ways that they could be prepping their home for sale right before it's time
Yeah.
to actually sell it.
Yep.
This is an interesting one. So interview, do a testimonial with the client who was happy with your service, virtual
Yes.
or otherwise.
Yep. I recommended this to a coaching client, and you could have knocked me over with a feather that she did what I suggested. She told me this yesterday. She said, "Oh my goodness, it was amazing." Her client like sat in the bay window and was on video on her phone, and it was just the cutest thing when she talked about what it was like to sell her home virtually and how grateful she was for the support that she got from this agent. It was terrific.
Got it. And then you say coming soon.
Well, it depends on your markets. I mean, some of us have different rules, but if you're planning to list a property, do everything you can to get eyeballs on it. It's kind of the same and kind of different because of COVID, but because we always want to get as many eyeballs as possible on our listings. But if you want to get this done as quickly as possible, and in some of our markets, we are still looking at less than a week on market.
Right.
Before we're under contract, provided that we promote the property really, really well. So any coming soon. The coming soon could be as simple as driving over there and shooting a little video from across the street. You could say, this amazing house is coming up in 2 weeks. Please ask me about it. We don't have the full interior tour done, but I will give you all the nitty gritty. Call me. That's a really valuable start.
Good. One thing that we didn't touch on when it comes to video in general is using BombBomb,
Yes.
right? Recording a video. We just started, it was either yesterday or Wednesday, Wake Up with Jerusalem. And she's doing these BombBomb video e-newsletters every morning with kind of a preview of what's happening today, right? What do we have going on today?
Yeah.
So, that is that's another way to get on video, and you can do as many takes as you want on BombBomb until you're comfortable with it. So, if you're not sending out an electronic newsletter, that's something that, we probably need to talk about.
Yeah.
BombBomb is a really good resource, and not every newsletter that you do via BombBomb has to be video. No. Right? It's designed for video, but it's not a shall, right? You may, so don't feel like you have to do video every time.
Yeah.
But it's a good way to connect with your people. And I feel like there's, and I'd love to do a poll on this. I should have asked the mastermind group this morning because we had a good number of people on. How many people FaceTime, right, with their family or use WhatsApp or whatever, show of hands? How many of you guys do video? For real estate, show of hands. I'll bet it's a fair number of folks that are doing FaceTime type video and they're somehow comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Right. But then when it comes to real estate, it's like, and maybe that's because they're only FaceTiming with people who are closest to them. I'd like to kind of dig deeper there. There'd be some interesting answers to those questions, I think. But I like your idea. Sometimes you'll answer a text or you'll have a question and you'll send a video text. And frankly, it's quicker for you. It's quicker for you to do a video than to type it.
Yes.
And it's rather interesting. Kim just raised her hand. She's comfortable doing FaceTime, right, with the family and stuff, but not as comfortable doing video. She's getting more comfortable. This is Kim Chamberlain, who you're interviewing here live on Monday at 1:30. So we're going to get to hear all of her cool stuff. What else do you have to add today? And then maybe I'll give people a quick preview of what we're up to next week.
Okay, great. Well, I just want to encourage you to go do anything with video. Okay, we gave you so many things to think about. I don't want you to be overwhelmed by it. Send a video text to a buddy. Try it, right? Start there. I'm doing story time. I read stories online to my family. It started complicated. I hesitated for a couple of weeks because I wasn't quite sure how to do it. And I mounted my phone and I had multiple logins to Zoom. And now I just get the book online and it's seamless. And I'm going to start streaming with StreamYard so that I don't even have to worry about the recording and uploading. So do something simple, like loving on the people you're already comfortable with, and get good with video.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll challenge people who are watching either live or later, send me a video. Great. Send me a video, right? We're going to put my cell phone number in the comments.
Sure.
send me a video, right? And it can just be, it doesn't have to be fancy, right? It can just be, just one-on-one. Preview for next week. So next week, the schedule is done. So we're 1:30 Eastern live every day. Monday, you are interviewing Kim Chamberlain, who's signed up 2 sellers in a week from her virtual listing presentation. So, that's amazing. You're also going to talk about virtual settlements, walkthroughs, and virtual opens. So that should be a great show. Tuesday, I'm interviewing the Northern Virginia Association of Realtors CEO, Ryan Conrad. He leads a 12,000 member association. Mm-hmm. So it's one of the larger ones in the country. So it will be fun to interview him and see what's going on there. On Wednesday, I'm interviewing a Bright MLS trainer. We're going to be discussing changes that MLSs have made in general, and then specific to Bright about changes that they've made to help agents deal with this new market. Mm-hmm. On Thursday, the 23rd, you're going to be solo, doing Know the Tools You Have and Make the Most of Them Now. That should be a great course. And then on next Friday, the 24th, will be you and me again with the topic TBD. We're going to decide that when we get into next week. So you've posted your number. I've posted mine. We would love to see your videos. Just as I mentioned earlier in the show, and I mentioned on the mastermind, I am happy to help with a video. I am happy to interview you as an agent, or if you want to interview me as a coach and a real estate executive about what we're seeing and how we're pivoting, happy to do it. It does not need to be 30 minutes. If you want to record it and post it, cool. If you want to go live, great, right? So you have a great opportunity. I'll extend that to anybody who needs help. So I think that's about it.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us. Don't be scared. Try it. You'll get better.
Yeah, give it a shot. Amy, always good to see you. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.